Oh, the side. Good morning, CADCA members. Woo!
Good morning. I'm Mary Elizabeth Elliott. You all know me as Mel, Vice President of Communications, Membership, and IT.
I'm Nadina Colbert, Membership Manager.
This morning we're going to talk a little bit about the power of membership. Are you guys ready for day 2? Yes.
Are you guys feeling empowered, inspired, and ready to make this movement move forward?
Yes.
I didn't hear that. Come on. Are you guys feeling empowered, inspired, and ready to move this movement forward? Woo!
All right. So this morning you'll hear about CADCA membership because there's strength in numbers, and without you, CADCA simply would not exist. You'll also hear from a member of our Coalition Advisory Committee and 2 esteemed members of the CADCA Board of Directors. At this time, I'd like all of our Coalition Advisory Committee and board members present to please stand and be recognized. So the folks standing, your Coalition Advisory Committee, those are your ambassadors, and they advise us and they bring your good ideas to us from the field. So get to know that group, absolutely. And thank you all for your service to CADCA.
As a membership manager, I know all about our members. CADCA has 4 unique membership groups. Our coalitions, that is our base. Individual memberships, special interest groups members, and state and national members.
As you can see on the slide, our movement is driven by our coalition membership. Not a surprise. We call coalitions our base, our network, and you guys are really our reason for being. Interestingly enough, our fastest growing category is our individual memberships. A group of members that are not associated with a coalition but support the power of prevention. Special interest groups can be county level organizations, regional prevention centers, treatment centers, you name it. And sustaining level members comprise state and national level members that represent a small but mighty facet of our membership portfolio. 30 states, guys, 30 states have affirmed their support for your coalition work by becoming state level members. So thank those 30 states. The power of connections. Social media has become a part of our daily lives, like it or not. At CADCA, we have embraced it, and we want you to embrace it too.
So, I want you to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, post your pictures on Instagram, and connect professionally with us on LinkedIn.
Can you do that for us? Yes, will you do that? All right, excellent. So a little tiny lesson on branding because we want you to co-brand with us. And what does that mean? Well, CADCA is learning more and more about branding ourselves. We know that we need to think about branding as everything you do and everything that you say. We know many of you guys have strong local brands, and what we want to do is we want to connect to your strong local brand, and we want you to connect with the strong national brand of CADCA. I want to let you know every member in good standing is entitled to use the CADCA logo and our communications tools. We really want you to post the CADCA logo on your website. You can say you're a proud member of CADCA. It's right there on the screen. We want to see that on all of your websites. Please do that. So now we're talking a little bit about utilizing your membership benefits. Well, there's a lot of new benefits this year, and we want to tell you about them. Nadina has been working overtime to bring you some new partnerships, so let's talk about it.
We've established some really great corporate sponsors this year to work with us to help coalitions really build what they're doing in their communities. New affinity program. So what this looks like is Dell computers. So for your office, your staff, you are able to get deep discounts with Dell to satisfy your staff and your community with these needs. You know, I know many of you are traveling both, outside to forum, mid-year, going around to your communities, and you might need some additional services through car rentals. We work with Hertz that will give you a discount for that. UPS, we all have major shipping needs, and so UPS is working with us to give you discounts on that end as well. Office Depot has an ability for you to get discounts on their website and in stores working with CADCA. And a really great organization, Network for Good, is a foundation that will help coalitions do online fundraising for you. For our individual members, we have done a great job working with professional development and continuing education. So we have a great relationship with the University of Oklahoma to receive a master's in prevention degree, all online at a huge savings to our individual members. So I really want you to come down to the membership booth, learn about all of our new affinity programs and the growing relationship that we have with the University of Oklahoma.
And while you're down there, say hi to Liz, our new membership associate, Liz Newton. So as you can see, your CADCA membership team, we are here for you.
Yes, so I want you to like us on Facebook, call me, email me, tweet me, hashtag Nadina, hashtag membership. I'm here to support you. What we do at membership, we want to support all of our members, so that's what I want you to do. Contact us.
Thanks, Nadina. Nadina's actually trending right now on Twitter.
I'm trending on Twitter.
Thank you, Nadina. And now I'd like to introduce some special speakers to tell you more about the power of membership. Our first speaker is Diane Casto. Diane Casto has been a lifelong advocate for children, parents, families, and healthy communities. She's worked in the area of child abuse and neglect, fetal alcohol syndrome, substance abuse prevention, and healthy families since 1978. Currently, she is manager of prevention and early intervention services within the Alaska DHSS Division of Behavioral Health, having held that position for 10 years. Diane's philosophy is that partnerships, coalitions, and collaboration are always better than working in isolation. And coming from Alaska, she may know a thing about isolation. Working toward a collective impact has been Diane's life's work. She's now serving on our Coalition Advisory Committee. Please welcome Diane Casto.
Good morning. Wow, it's bright up here. But you all look great. Everyone have a good night? Okay, you had fun yesterday? Was that music? Yes. And the dancing? I told Mel and Nadina, they have got some moves. So I did make them promise that I would not have to dance today because I do not have the moves. So as Mel said, I am Diane Casto. I'm from the balmy state of Alaska, which I talked to my friends in New York this morning that it's snowing like crazy. We have no snow in Juneau, none. We have green grass. So I don't know what's happening, but it's nice and it's fine with me because I'm ready for spring. So I am very honored and pleased to talk with you this morning about membership and all the things that CADCA does with us, for us, how we all work together, as Mel said, partnerships, collaboration, collective impact is what I do, and the work that I do at home and the work that I do within CADCA as well. And there is nothing that says collaboration, partnership, and collective impact more than CADCA. So, I am CADCA, you are CADCA, and we are CADCA, right? Okay. So I am here to talk about the power of membership, and a critical component of what creates the power of the movement is our membership. Without this amazing membership, the movement would not be nearly as powerful. You, all of you, give the membership its strength and its power through your expertise, your energy, and your passion for the work that we do. When I began my current position, as Mel said, in about 10 years ago, 2003, I had been working at that time in the fields of child abuse, neglect, and in fetal alcohol syndrome. So I wasn't quite as into the substance abuse world. So when I came into the Division of Behavioral Health, one of the first things I heard about was this organization called CADCA. And I'm like, CADCA, what does that stand for? I think it took me a year before I could always remember what it stood for. And don't test me, because sometimes I do forget. But I do know what it stands for in here, and I know what it stands for out here. So what I did find out is that my state was not a state organization. We were not a member. But I made my first trek to a CADCA leadership forum, and I believe that was in 2004. And I immediately saw, and most importantly, I felt the power of CADCA and the power of the membership. And I became a passionate supporter for CADCA. At that time, as I said, our state was not a member. So what I decided to do, because I was not getting anywhere with our state budget and being able to become a state member, and I know that that is an issue for some states, so I made the decision to become an individual member. And so any of you out there, any of those other 20 states that are not state members, even if you can't become a state member, become an individual member. That's how we continue to grow this membership. So after I became a individual member, I kept talking to our leadership at the state of Alaska, convincing them that being a state member had amazing benefits that we would gain from. And so finally, I think it was about 2 years later, we did become a state member, and I'm very happy that we were able to do that and that we continue to do that. So again, I would challenge all of you who are not state members yet to really work with your state and help them understand that the importance of membership is that we can do so much more together than we can do alone. That is the critical piece of what CADCA does. And I think sitting in this room, this huge room with all these people from around the state, you can see how powerful this membership can be. So this membership has provided us, and I know it has provided all of you, with tremendous benefits. And I'm not going to go through the kind of hands-on benefits because Nadina just told you about that. But I did want to talk about and think about that how the benefits have helped us build, to grow, and to enhance our statewide network of alcohol and drug prevention coalitions. And as I was thinking about membership after I was asked to talk, I thought, well, what would be a good analogy? How can we relate this membership to the work that we do out in the field? And what I started thinking about, and the best analogy for me, is to look at the concept of protective factors that all of us deal with day in and day out. We are always looking for, how do we build protective factors in our communities, in our families, in our individuals? How do we give them those things that they need to be strong, to be healthy, to be powerful? And what I see the CADCA membership, I see it as a protective factor for our communities and our community coalitions. It's the same kind of protective factor that we currently work with our youth, with our adults, with our families, and our communities. Factors that connect us, we have people to count on, and the role of mentors and leaders that guide us in the work that we do. By being a member of CADCA, we are connected to this large network of smart people doing similar work. We have people, lots of people, who we can call on, who we can count on. How many times have you called someone in this network to just say, you know, I heard you talk about something at one of these leadership conferences, and we would like to do something like that in our state. Can you help me out? How many times have you done that? I know I certainly have. And that's one of the huge benefits of being a member, having that connectedness. And then I think the other really important thing, besides connectedness and having that group of, that network of people, is having the immense number of mentors and leaderships that can guide us and help us grow, learn, and become the power of the movement. The benefits make us strong, make us successful, and make us sustainable. So, I am CADCA, you are CADCA, we all of us are CADCA, and we are the power of the movement. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. And it's great to hear from a state leader. And Diane has had our training team up to Alaska and has really embraced how we're training coalitions. So it's just wonderful to have her on the Coalition Advisory Committee. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Doug Hughes. Doug Hughes served 35 years in law enforcement in positions ranging from a foot patrol officer on the streets of New York City to the streets of Miami. In 2006, he was appointed to the position of Executive Director of the Miami Coalition for a Safe and Drug-Free Community, arguably one of the first coalitions ever. And he joined the CADCA Board of Directors in 2011. Please welcome Doug Hughes.
Thank you, Mel. After almost 26 years in the coalition field, directly and indirectly, and many years in law enforcement, I can tell you it's an absolute pleasure to be here today and to look at over a sea of coalitions, a sea of coalitions. I want you to do something. I want you to stop whatever's going through your mind and think of here and now. Look around the room, sense it, feel it, reach out, whoever is nearby, and just touch them, touch them. Okay. Be careful. Okay. What you're feeling is people power, and what you're feeling is a movement. As Americans, born and new, we have certain things we value. We value justice and freedom. We were born for those reasons. We value family and we value faith. And we love music. And you know what we love? We just celebrated. We love teams. We enjoy teams because people want to belong. In fact, when you debrief gang members, why are they there? They want to belong to something. So we are so blessed to be able to belong to a movement. Have you noticed how easy it is to talk to people here? My laptop wasn't working on my tablet because of user error. So I went over and asked my neighbor. My neighbor said, just do this. And it worked. No matter what we want, we can find in the coalition movement. We are very diverse, but the future of this country is based on that diversity coming together. We are not left, we are not right. We are going to come together. The coalition movement is emerging, and I think after 26 years, we have not hit our peak yet. I think we're just getting in our stride. I think that we are going to get more recognition, more responsibility, and more funding to promote the things in America that America needs. Because we are not political, but we're politically aware. I have been on the CADCA CAC for 4 years and on the board of directors for 3 years. I don't have time and patience to waste. So I'm here because CADCA has leadership. CADCA has the tools that we need. We have technology. We have research. We have training. And you know what we're not very good at collectively? Lobbying. And we're not very good at it because we don't understand the nuances of what we can do, what we can't do. Well, I am so happy to tell you, CADCA is fabulous at lobbying. We would not be here. Safe and drug-free schools would not have had 15 years of existence. We wouldn't have gone from a budget that was cut to a budget that exceeded the original appropriation without CADCA. We need one more thing: caring, loyalty, teamwork, motivation. Those are all fabulous attributes. But you know what Americans love more than anything else? What we were born out of? We love action. Action. Well, action today is simple. Sign on the bottom line, become a CADCA organization and a CADCA member, and do it this month. Before February ends, sign up and become a CADCA member. Why? Because then it's official. Then it's not just talk. Then it's action. I am a part of CADCA, and I am part of a movement. Our team is part of a movement. It is with absolute pleasure that I can tell you CADCA makes a difference in America, and it has for the many years, more than 20 years that it's been in existence. So please, join the team, not only in the work, but in the membership. Make it official. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug, for that passionate speech. We have some really exciting new board members at CADCA, and you're going to meet one this morning. And I just want to thank him. He told me coming in he was not a morning person. This is not the sweet spot in his day for inspiration, but he's bringing it this morning. I know it. And he's a total delight, a social media pioneer. Curtis Hoagland. Curtis Hoagland is a true social media pioneer. He founded one of the first new media agencies in 1993, the first Attention, where he helped companies like, AOL, Amazon, Microsoft. Curtis went on to establish the new media practice at Reuter Finn and ran a 150-person digital marketing and communications consultancy before launching Film Movement, the first film distribution company to release films simultaneously in theater and on DVD. He refounded Attention in 2006 to advance social networking as an innate behavior, a philosophy that he will no doubt expand on today with us. Curtis supports a number of nonprofits. We're truly, truly honored that he supports this nonprofit organization. Please welcome Curtis Hoagland.
I don't know why you think that you could.
And by the way, not to worry, this is my sixth coffee today, so if anything, I'm over-caffeinated. I think we got to show a presentation in a second, but what I wanted to do today is talk about the role that social media has in social good. And I think it's one of the most profound changes that we have in terms of making the world a better place. We think about social media as Facebook, we think about it as Twitter, Instagram. It's much more than that. It's actually a behavior. We as human beings, especially young human beings, have an innate, almost biological need to share and socialize. It's in our DNA. For the first time in the history of civilization, more people live in urban centers than they do in rural environments because we've always underestimated our need to be social. I think I need the clicker. Oh, it's right there. And so what we're going to do is talk about the role that social media has in your day-to-day activity. I don't think this is ancillary to what you do. I think it's a primary function of how you engage with your local communities. Now, they asked me to say a few minutes about myself, and I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the floppy disks and sliding them in and out of the Mac you used to have to do only to get that little bomb that would show up and crash your computer. Those were the early days. I was actually the first generation that had a computer in my dorm room. It was actually my roommate's computer. I couldn't afford it, but we managed to learn. So people said, did you have any grand vision for how social media and the internet and technology would change society? And the defining answer is no, not at all. I thought it would be a really cool way to meet girls and find out new games. So if you put your that mindset against all the teens you're trying to talk to, it's really the same thing. So I'm motivated from a place of just pure teendom and the ignorance of youth. And as my esteemed introductor talked about it, it led me down a very interesting path. Because at school, people were talking about the internet in a way that I couldn't understand. They were too smart. I went to a really nerdy college. But when I got out, I said, nonetheless, boy, you should be using the internet to sell books. You should be using the internet to make communities come together. So we started the first new media agency, the first agency to create websites, one of the first social media agencies, and joined a large global holding company a little bit later. And like I promised, today we are in 27 markets. We do this in global, most of the work in the US. But really what we're trying to understand is the social behavior for why people join communities, why they take actions, why they care about things. And this is all part of social media. But as I would say, my love, my passion, what gets me up in the morning, what allows me to sleep better when I put my head on the pillow at night is some of the not-for-profit work in addition to CADCA. These are some of the organizations that we've made profound impacts on. And what I would say is they're not just campaigns, they're rethinking what is the fundamental way that UNICEF goes about presenting itself to the world, whether it's fundraising, whether it's activating their communities, whether it's interrelating on a personal level, that social media is now a fundamental core because that behavior that we need to share touches everything. It touches our PR, touches our marketing, touches how we talk to local communities. And it gets really exciting from there. You cannot talk to teens and you cannot market and you cannot organize communities today without understanding that there is one thing that's more important than everything else, and that is the mobile telephone. It is the thing that we have with us all the time. For us to succeed, you either are relevant on the mobile telephone or you're not as relevant as you need to be, right? How many of you here have mobile telephones? Quick show of hands, right? If I want to know the one of you who doesn't, because I admire and I'm jealous of you because you're off the grid. Of those people that have mobile telephones, does anyone have Twitter or Facebook or Instagram? Maybe you text message here and there. Well, your teen audience and your mom too lives and breathes that. Their world is dominated by social media, mobile text, and Google search. When you go back, and one of the lessons that I would give you is search yourself and search your organization and see what comes up. And it's a bit of a virtuous circle because search elevates social media higher than any other search listings, right? Every time you do something as social, you get an email back. So they all work together. If you really want to understand outside of the person-to-person stuff that you do, what do you look like in search? When you search them, what do I find in social? Because you always find Twitter, Facebook, and things are first in those lists. That's the front line of how people are forming community and relationships online. Now, with that being said, there is some good and there is some bad. But universally, I love this statistic because it's the same in the US. I think it's about 300 and some million people in the United States. There are about 300 million cell phone subscriptions in the United States, right? So this just shows you how prevalent this has become. I love it, 7 billion people in the world, 6.5 billion mobile phones, right? This is the network that ties community together today. And it's not even within a physical community. You'll find that there's influencers, that you don't have to reach all of these people, that you reach that right team, that right influencer, that right community representative in your team, they will do the work for you. So much of we think about as partner marketing, who, if you're in Kansas City, my hometown, and I happen to know in Kansas City, there's a great Facebook community run by the people about the issue of drug addiction in their community, right? So we don't have to manufacture it all. It's how are we relevant to that community? How are we using that as a recruiting ground? How are we using that to communicate our message? Fish where the fish are. We don't have to create all this. You don't have to learn all about Facebook and Twitter and be an expert on Instagram. You have to be listening and knowing what's out there and to be relevant and active in those communities, which means you have to produce far less content and spend far less time than you thought you did in terms of getting into social media. Now, with that being said, what do teens do online? What do people do online? And I would call out 3 particular things here. Is A, how authentic and transparent they are and how they talk about themselves online. They will share with you all of the linguistic triggers about where they are relative to drugs. They will tell you the affinities. They will say, I'm a huge football fan, so therefore what you might want to do is say, hey, we're not going to have this local event at the local chapter that we do. We're going to take you to a high school football game. Right? Because that's all of a sudden, if you ever want to introduce yourself to somebody, do it in the context of what they're interested in. Right? So one of the things that we know is that language degrades. We start with a message, it goes through this pachinko machine of social media and comes out quite different. So if you can put them together and you can change the context and change the nature of communication, we can have a much more profound impact on how we're relevant to them. And in order for us to change things with them, we need to be relevant with them. We need to be in the same mediums they are. We need to be in the right venues that they are. And we need to understand the messages. And a lot of that starts by just listening. Everyone, when you go back, research the top 10 local communities that are most like you and befriend them in whatever way is most comfortable for you. You don't have to overthink it. Social media seems like a burden. It's not. It's just a channel for you to tell what you're already doing. So I wanted to get through a couple of different things that says, okay, I don't want to pretend that social media is all good or all bad. There's a tremendous amount of both. This is something we did. Has anyone ever heard of a company called Do Something, an organization called Do Something? It's one of the top charities. Years ago, before anybody knew to Do Something, because if I'd stood up here and said, do you know Do Something, you would have said no. Through a simple twist of innovation, this blog that they created called Celebs Gone Good, right? That they said positivity, positive emotion trumps everything else. There's a reason so many people pass around pictures of kittens and puppies, because they're positive, safe emotions. That always trumps negative emotions. The solution is always greater than the threat, but although negative emotion is always greater than no emotion at all. So you're trying to emotionally appeal to people. So they wanted to highlight all the celebs that were doing really good things in the world. And that simple thing that they did got them on the national radar, brought in funds, and got them to kind of own that teen not-for-profit space. And I will tell you this, you know how much this original blog cost? Used it a free platform, it cost $1,800. And it was the single most transformative thing that they did. Not everything has to cost a lot of money. All dollars are precious. But there's a flip side to this. We work with the Truth Campaign, if anybody knows it, which has been one of the most powerful campaigns out there. But we noticed 2 things from this campaign. One of which is social media is the number 2 cause of why teens smoke. Do you know that? Think about Facebook. Everyone's publishing photos of themselves partying out on the town, romanticizing, glorifying that type of teen life. And all their friends saying that's cool, and they talk about it. The other thing that we notice is, anybody ever wonder why the left gets more left in politics and the right gets more right? Okay? Social media. We're living this gridlock in Washington right now. It's because when we go online, we go to communities that confirm what we already know, right? So there isn't always a lot of self-discovery, and that same thing's happened on Facebook around smoking. And I don't have the data of whether that's the same way people are getting turned on to drugs, but I would bet you it's true. And if you look at it anecdotally, you know, if you're not listening and watching that conversation and have the credibility to intervene, right, it's really hard to get at the root of how all of this is happening. at the epicenter of how teens are communicating, right? Because this is where it is. This is ground zero for how they communicate. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit of the art of the possible. Now, all of these campaigns, some of them are a little fancier than others, but were executed within a 2 or 3 week period. So this is a charity called Hope for Children. And if everyone's heard of a silent auction, we decided to do an unsilent auction. And we identified friends of the organization. And we said, okay, if you teens submit the way that you're participating in helping our cause, we're going to give you an award in your medium. So Rachel Zoe, the top designer, is going to design a dress specifically for you on Instagram. If you're a Broadway fan and you ever saw Rent or Wicked, maybe you know Idina Menzel and Taye Diggs, that they would sing you a love song through YouTube, right? We got Drake to do a bedtime lullaby for you, right? And we got millions of people who wanted those, and it was all because we corralled some celebrities and friends, very similar to what we did with Andre Agassi at the event last year. And I'm going to spend, I don't want to dominate time, but I want to spend a little minute to show you what it looks like, because it doesn't have to be expensive, but if you're trying to get the emotion, the one thing is CADCA is an acronym. You said we don't always know what it means, but when I see the whites of the eyes of the people that you're helping, and I look around the room and I see the power of the organizers and the commitment and the passion, that's what we have to get across. Social media might be the most cost-effective way you can do it. So I don't have to show you this whole thing, but I want to show you what the output of this is that was seen by every teen out there.
Hi, Angie.
What's up, Angie?
It's Adina. This is my husband, Tay.
Ms. Arredondo.
It's Angie.
Thank you.
Let me say her full name. Angie Arredondo. We want to say thank you so much to you for being so generous and supporting so many causes, but specifically ours, a broader way. It's very, very near and dear to our hearts, and you're going to help a lot of little girls go to summer camp. So
we are at the airport on our way to camp as we speak.
Yes, we're huddled in a corner in the lounge at Delta. Our son is crying in the background because he hasn't taken a nap because we're delayed.
So we're making him suffer
And
for
this,
you.
And this guy thinks we really would. Okay, but here we go. This is for you, a new rendition. Okay.
3, 4.
Okay, here. Hands touch, eyes meet, sudden silence, sudden heat, hearts leap in a giddy world. He could be that boy, but I'm not that girl. You're the girl, Angie. Don't dream too far. Don't lose sight of who you are. Don't remember that rush of joy. He could be that boy. I'm not that girl. Every so often we long to steal to the land of what might have been. But that doesn't soften the ache we feel when reality sits back in. Light smile, light limp. She was winsome, she wins him. Gold hair with a gentle curl. That's the girl he chose. And heaven.
So I don't want to let the whole thing. Cost of that video, guys? Not a mente. Is anyone from Kansas City, my hometown? I spoke to, name dropping, I spoke to George Brett and said, George, if we got the right community activation where people donated or tweeted in why they thought Drug-Free Kids was a worthy program, would you coach them on their fantasy baseball team? And he said yes. These things are out there. It doesn't have to be someone famous. It could be a local influence, a newspaper. These things are really easy to turn around and viral and get to the heart of your community because they're emotional. The next one I want to show you is how easy it is to raise money. Is anyone heard of Kickstarter or Indiegogo, right? eBay Cares. This page was free to set up. They did a video. You could do a photo of any one of the projects you're working on and allow the community to donate dimes and nickels or dollars or whatever it is. And I know you're sitting here saying, hey, nickels are not that much money. Google made tens of billions of dollars a nickel at a time on cost per click advertising. And every dollar counts. So if each one of you has a campaign where you're highlighting a project, a family, you can use free backends like eBay Cares to do things exactly like this. And $8,000, $10,000 at a time, it's not chump change. It makes a fundamental difference as every dollar does. There's also, can you perform a utility for your community? This is something we do in the office after there's a man-made or a natural disaster in the world. Has anyone ever had the experience that there's a storm or a disaster in the Philippines or Hurricane Sandy in this case, and you don't know how to help? Or something that happens in your community, you go to Google. I don't know, there's the Red Cross, but I want to find a way to help the people that I can see, that I can touch, that I can know. So this is using a system called Pinterest, which is a photo sharing. And all we do is pull in the different feeds of all the different ways that you can volunteer based on where you live, based on what you're interested in, based on a bunch of different filters. And all we do is take the fire hose of the internet, put it in one place, distribute it everywhere we can. It shows up really well in search. And all of a sudden, people are going to Google and saying, I now know how to help the people who are victims of Hurricane Sandy. And all of you have disasters and moments in your town that can use this simple utility, right? It's called curation, and it's incredibly powerful. The next example I want to show you is just do things that get people's attention. There is so much noise. Teens look at more information across more media for shorter amounts of time than anybody on the planet. But that's actually true for all of you. Do you know TV is declining rapidly with your teen audience? They're all on their phones and they're all on their computers if they have them. So I loved what UNICEF did. Like us on Facebook and we will vaccinate 0 children against polio. It's true. Your social actions doesn't mean that much unless you take the next step to commit. But sometimes I'm just saying, get their attention, get creative, right? Go against the wind. There's a lot of talent out there, and you don't even have to be creative. All you need to do is talk to your community, and they'll have the answers for you. Your community is always smarter than you are, always smarter than I am. And again, if you listen and engage them, they will tell this. If you have a group of students, a friend of mine teaches at Marymount College, and he put a class out there. He said, guys, we're helping this charity in New York City called City Harvest. And I want you guys as your project to figure out how to solve their objectives. And we partnered with the university and they did groundbreaking work to get people to notice what was happening in City Harvest. The last couple of things I want to send you is Facebook and things like that, of making it really clear of what you want people to do. Right? And you can do that now in a more visual way. As a follow-up to this, we can have a breakout session on who's doing what on Facebook, who's doing what on Twitter, who's doing one with videos, right? And we can get down into brass tacks. We don't have time to do that today, but it's incredibly powerful. And then the last thing, well, let me go back for a second to talk about inspiration and hope. Has anyone ever heard of Kid President? I won't show you the whole thing, but this was a very inexpensive campaign that started by a single person about how you could give someone every day someone to be hopeful about. And that seems like something CADCA would really lean into. How do we do something just every day that all of you have, that you can share? Because remember, this is all about sharing. It's about giving someone a link or a piece of content that they can pass on and do your work for you. I would also say you should never send out a piece of communication without a link, never. A link is word of mouth. A link is how you get to information. Yes, you need content on the other side, but I'll show you just a quick snip of Kid President if you've never seen it before. One of the most successful campaigns of its type. But what I want you to really notice is the simplicity, the inexpense, and just getting someone who represents a community to do what they do.
I think we all need a pep talk. The world needs you to stop being boring. Yeah, you. Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring, but you're gooder than that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. Well, it is a cereal. And if life is a game, are we on the same team? I mean, really, right? I'm on your team, be on my team. This is life, people. You got air coming through your nose. You got heartbeat. That means it's time to do something. A poem. Two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the road less traveled. It hurt, man! Really bad. Rocks, thorns, and glass. My parts broke. Wah! Not cool, Robert Frost. But what if there really were two paths? I want to be the one that leads to awesome. It's like that dude Journey said, don't stop believing, unless your dream's stupid. Then you should get a better dream. I think that's how it goes. Get a better dream and keep going. Keep going, and keep going. Will Michael Jordan have quit? Well, he did quit. No, he retired. Yeah, he retired. But before that, in high school, what if he quit when he didn't make the team? He would have never made Space Jam. And I love Space Jam. What will be your Space Jam? What will you create will make the world awesome? Nothing if you keep sitting there. That's why I'm talking to you today. This is your time. This is my time. It's our time. We can make every day better for each other. If we're all on the same team, let's start acting like it. We got work to do. We can cry about it, or we can dance about it. We were made to be awesome. Let's get out there. I don't know everything. I'm just a kid. But I do know this. Because everybody's doing to give the world a reason to dance. So get to it. You just been pep talk. Create something that will make the world awesome. Play ball.
Single camera, great kid. But I would ask you guys, do you have that creativity, inspiration to try, to experiment? Doesn't have to be expensive, but to get a moment, something you're passionate about. Put it out there. We'll help you tag it, we'll help you organize it, send it to your friends. This is one of the best ways we can communicate. There's nothing like word of mouth. And digital and social is word of mouth. The last thing I'll tell you, and I'm not going to show you this just for the sake of time, but little things. This young man raised money and to give $100 bills to homeless people. And it was showing that how homeless people had real issues. And they weren't just taking the money. They weren't just saying, oh, great, I'm going to go buy whatever. They were real engagements. They were showing the complexity of homelessness. And this little thing, this first video got 3.3 million views, was a simple shoot with one guy who had an idea and $1,000 who made a fundamental difference. So with that, I just want to say thank you. And if we have time, and I'm not sure we do, we can ask questions. Okay. Anything you're working on your own or on Facebook and Twitter? You have a question about what works and what doesn't work?
So Curtis, can I go? Hey, Curtis, you said you might be willing to do at some future time a breakout session. Would you all like to learn more from Curtis Hoagland? Cheerio. We might have to put that in the schedule for next year's forum if you come back and
I
do
would
that.
love that, and I would ask everybody to bring their Twitter channels, bring their videos that they've done, anything that they want to kind of have a meaningful discussion around.
I'm here from Idaho, and we're doing a whole lot out there right now with social media, but we are getting on the bandwagon. One of the things that we've done in our small coalition is we won a video, an advertising agency said they would work with us to produce a video for youth ad. While I'm really excited about doing that, I have no idea where to start. So can you, coalition, we've been there about, and we're just kind of trying to decide, you know, a single camera.
Okay, first of all, never make a piece of content without knowing how you're going to distribute it, right? So there's sometimes too many people that says, okay, I'm going to do something cool, and then they're like, oh crap, how do I get people to see it, right? So one of the things that you want to really start to do is figure out who are all the top like-minded influencers, bloggers, tweeters that would like your message. Right? How do you create this in YouTube? Can you get your local newspapers, you know, to cover it? Because they're now all looking for multimedia content. Make sure it passes the authenticity test. Ad agencies sometimes struggle a little bit with social media because they're trying to make advertising. And they're trying to make things that are sometimes more packaged and produced. But the first thing I would say is just make sure it has the emotional and authentic quality that you want it to have, right? That's the big thing. If you don't get that right, then it becomes a video. And then there's some lessons where we can talk offline about how you tag it, how you post it onto YouTube, how you post it onto your channels. The other thing that you can do is just create a list of all the, like I said, the blogs, the Facebook pages, and just give it to them. Because if your goal is just to get the word out about it, right? As long as it's clear that it's from your community. If you ever want to build audience, do it on the back of the people that already have the audience. Does that answer the question at all? Okay.
Quick question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Quick question. Is this session going to be on CADCA among the sessions that you can watch, download, whatever, do you know?
Of course, yeah. I mean, yes. And what I would also say is if you don't reinvent the wheel, is just start searching in your communities. What do you like? What resonates with you? Right? And then riff off of that.
I've just got a quick, it's on, okay. I think one reason that people don't use social media is because you are going to spend time on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Do you have any recommendations on like one site that links all those together so I can just sit down one time and do that and it'll update all of them? Because I think that's one reason folks don't use all those avenues.
Well, I think you don't have to use all those avenues. Pick one. There should maybe be a rule that before you open a second channel, you should have to get the first one right. So you can make a choice. If you're trying to reach teens, Instagram is a great way. If you're trying to reach everybody, Facebook's a great way. If you're trying to disseminate media and information, Twitter's the right way. There are services that I can talk on, like called Feed, P-H-E-E-D, that will do it all for you. But I would say right now, focus on where you want to win, learn that, prove that success, and then go to the next steps. Just because all the channels exist doesn't mean you have to fill them up.
Can you help me get over my fear of driving young people to the Wild West atmosphere of the internet, where there is an enormous amount of uncontrolled content, pornography, and irrelevant and inappropriate content?
They're already there. So you can either help them get to places where they should get to. The best defense is a good offense. The better content that you give them, the more positive experiences you put out there, the more you interrelate to them one by one, the more you keep them away from all those other sites. But there's no real, unless, I mean, I can talk to you if you have a kid, I can tell you. By the way, if anyone has a teenage kids, has anyone heard Find Your Friend? Right? The rule that we have is, if you want to drive a car, man, you keep this app on, so I know where you are all the time. But I've always argued that in the absence of you doing something about it, they're going to do what's going to come. So your idea is in the same way you're trying to keep them in safe environments and physical environments, you're trying to do the same thing in digital environments.
It is predicted, and most of our focus has to be on getting our word out in front of youth, but youth are leaving Facebook, they're leaving MySpace, they're leaving a number of other social media platforms. What do you see within the next 5 years, because you have Glide, you have Vimeo, that we can really get our message in front of youth? Do you have any predictions from where you sit?
Well, right now there's the dominant channel for the teen audience is Instagram. So your ability to curate your day or put together photo streams that would be relevant to them is the number one way. They're still on Facebook, but they're not quite as into it. The other one is Snapchat. Has anyone ever heard of Snapchat? Snapchat's a weird thing because it basically allows me to send you a message that then disappears. Right? But you can actually use that because it gives a level of confidence that you're actually talking to them in their same medium. Hey man, saw what you're doing online, it's not really that cool, but then it goes away. So Snapchat is going to be really, really big. And then we will see geolocation come. So your phone knows where you are at all time. So your ability to give me experiences and information and content and friends based on where I am is also growing in popularity.
Good morning. I just wanted to actually give you a question. A lot of people don't speak about Ustreaming. And Ustream is a free account as well that I use with my teens that we set and do either like an hour session of back and forth. You can use it as a TV show, music. It's another way, a form of communication and getting the awareness out there. So I just wanted to speak about Ustream, and maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit more to let the teens know that that's another form of communication and social media that they can spread the awareness of, their message.
If you have something live, there's some great services out there. You can also do the same thing through Twitter when there's a live event happening. The goal when we have things like this, by the way, is often to reach the people outside the room. So sometimes you're inviting 5 or 10 bloggers here, or you're activating your young folk out there and say, hey, someone's going to live tweet it, right? Someone's going to take the Instagram photos from it, and you're lining up kind of what you would call your little journalist room to do that.
I come from a small community, and my concern with social media is with the small community, how some people's negative behaviors can impact their position upon the coalition or commenting on different topics that might come out, and wondering if we're starting to track that or if that has any kind of negative impact on what the coalition is doing as a whole versus just a member coming out or people saying things about them.
You can't hide from it. There's always going to be what we call trolls. Trolls are the people that are always critical, they're always commenting, they're out there, right? If you have a good enough community, it will self-police. And your members, your friends, your communities that help will come to your rescue if you can set it up the right way. But again, guys, you can't hide from this. It exists. You can either put your head in the sand or we can lean into it, because this is the dominant way that they get information. So we're either relevant to it or we're sometimes coming short of our mission. So thank you, everyone.
Don't forget your coffee. Thank you.
Well, another round of applause for Curtis Hoagland. What an asset to the CADCA board. We are so, so honored to have him, and I know we're all going to be learning more from him in the years to come. I'd like to quickly ask Andrea De La Flor to come up and share with you some important information about the Ideas Fair winners.
Okay, so thank you to all who participated. The votes are in. Overwhelmingly, the People's Choice Award goes to, drumroll, Who's Looking Out For Me Positive Messaging Campaign. They had 106 votes, and these youth were so energized. So is anybody from the coalition in here right now? And if not, I will get the award to them, but they're getting a $75 gift card, MasterCard, and also going to be featured in Coalitions Online. So moving on, CADCA picks 2 innovation awards. The first innovation award goes to Youth-Led Adult-Guided Flipping the Script on Drugs and Drug Paraphernalia. This is a Ward 8 DFC coalition here. They really engaged their youth in changing policy. So if you're in here, you can come up to the front. The second innovation award goes to the Marijuana Prevention Toolkit for Parents. This is Lori Dean with the Croton Community Coalition in Croton, New York. So thank you to everybody who participated, and enjoy your day.
Thanks, Andrea. Last word before you depart. I just want to, let's thank Curtis Hoagland. Let's thank Diane Casto. Let's thank Doug Hughes. These are assets to CADCA, assets to the movement. Most of all, thank all of you for continuing to find the resources to be a member in good standing. As you depart, we have a little parting gift for you all to take and show the CADCA brand every day on your commute to work and in your office. Now, next up is the truly exciting Capitol Hill Day plenary, where we're going to hear from real champions, members of Congress, and staffers that support your work, and then it's off to the Hill. And as an old Senate staffer, I cannot stress how important it is to hear from all of you. You are the constituents. You have so much power. We want to hear from you on the Hill. Now, as General Dean said yesterday, please be in the Potomac Ballroom at 9:15 to show our guests what? The power of? One more time. The power of? All right. As Kid President said, you were made to be awesome. Have an awesome day.